any journalistic outlet normally does, which is protect their sources and release information that they think is pertinent to the public interest. So we're going to have a few speakers today. The first speaker I'd like to introduce is Dr. Gary McLennon. You might have heard Gary speak last Friday. He's going to be opening the rally today. Gary is an academic and a lifelong advocate of social justice and human rights. And he's going to be addressing you. So please give Gary, where are you? There he is. Please give Gary a warm welcome. He's our first speaker of the day.
Friends, thank you. We're gathered here today to protest on behalf of Julian Assange. I want to say this, of course, is still a very important matter. He may be released on bail, but literally, truly, his life hangs by a thread. What is protecting Julian Assange is the wave of anger and protest that has swept this world. That is all that is keeping him from torture and death at the hands of the American thugs. That's the truth, the whole truth. We, here today, are part of a movement that is saving the life of Julian Assange. That's the fact. That's the fact our government knows, but our government will do nothing about. Because our government, led by Julia Gillard, is on the other side. She is on the side of the murderers. She is on the side of the torturers. She is on the side of those who would kill Wikileaks, kill their founder, destroy Julian Assange. Why? Because Julian Assange has revealed to us the nature of the world we all live in. So at the recent rally in London, my good friend Kieran O'Reilly, born in Brisbane, member of the Catholic Workers, was standing in a kettle, surrounded by thousands of police thugs, around him young children protesting for an education and a future. My friend Kieran O'Reilly held up a placard, and on the placard it said, "Do you want an education? Then free Julian Assange." That friend said it all for me. What has Julian Assange done? He has provided each one of us with an education. He has told us about this dark world. He has revealed us secrets we were never meant to know. He has told us about things we were never meant to see. He has told us about how power operates in this world. He has told us how every ruler in this world, how they operate. They operate in secret, in the dark, and there they do dirty deeds. Now there's thousands of leaks coming out, and so some of them are trivial. We now know, for instance, that the First Lady of Azerbaijan has had a whole series of botched facelifts, and the poor thing can no longer smile. Terrible, a tragedy. But we also know that the First Lady of Azerbaijan and her husband lead a government which tortures, imprisons without trial, and runs slave labour camps. We also know that Azerbaijan is a government friendly to Americans, recognised as part of the American system. Now recently, a former ambassador to America, Sir Reginald Myers, wrote his autobiography. And in that autobiography, he talked about the instructions he was given before he went to America. He was told simply, get up the ass of Washington and stay there. Now, WikiLeaks has revealed to us that Sir Reginald Myers is not the only one who has made that journey. Mark Aviv of New South Wales is wedged up there. Alongside him is the Foreign Minister, Kevin Rudd. And right up there, too, is our Prime Minister. Sure, it stinks a bit, but it's safe up there. That's the world they want. The world of torture, the world of cruelty. Now, before I begin to talk more about the world we live in, I want us to spare a thought for Bradley Manning. Who is Bradley Manning? He's the man accused of leaking the documents, the state files, to WikiLeaks. He's now spent 7 months in solitary confinement. We now know that his mental and physical health are deteriorating. This to Bradley Manning. Of course, they want to break him. They want to do a Guantanamo Bay him. They want him to sign a document which says he was in a conspiracy with Julian Assange to spy on America. That's what they want. And and then they would get Julian Assange to America. Now, the Attorney General has said if there isn't a law, he will make a law to get Assange to America. But Bradley Manning is suffering. Bradley Manning has done nothing. If he's released the documents, all he's done is told you and me things we needed to know. Right. Of course, the Americans have said, they've said he's a homosexual. They revealed facts about his personal life. That is supposed to make you and I not support him. Just as the rape charges against Assange are meant to make you and I not support him. So the details about Manning's homosexuality are meant to tell us somehow he's a bad person. He's not a bad person. He's a contemporary hero. He's a hero just as Julian Assange is a hero. Friends, as we go away from this rally, we must show the world that we have learned something about this experience. Of course, it's about the right to information. It's about the free flow of information. It's about the internet being free for all of us. It's about the right to free speech. All of those things are actually sacred and important to us. But above all, what WikiLeaks controversy is about, and what the crime that Assange has committed is this. He has told us about the world that the Americans have created. He has told us about the alliance. Mark Habib issued a statement after it was revealed that he was a stool pigeon and a spy for the Americans. He said he was a great supporter of the American alliance. Now, WikiLeaks shows us what it means to be a supporter of the American alliance. It means you keep quiet when people are tortured. It means you keep quiet when people are slaughtered. It means you keep quiet when journalists are shut down. It means you keep quiet when people are corrupted and bribed. It means you keep quiet when people are framed and put on trial or thrown into prison and never heard of again. That's what the American alliance means. And we must go away from here. And we must strive. There must be no second thoughts about it. We want a better world. We want a braver world. A world where our children and grandchildren can live in safety and peace. And we must do all we can to break the American alliance. We must say we are against empire. We must say we are for truth. We are for the free flow of information. And above all, we will defend Julian Assange. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And a good start to the day. More people are rolling in. It's good to see. After 2 rallies, we're still getting this great support, and it's so important that we continue coming out onto the streets, continue sending the message loud and clear through these cameras you see around us and through the streets of Brisbane.
Continue
and the streets of Brisbane.
Hopeless communists, that's what you are.
Through the streets of Brisbane, saying loud and clear that we will stand up for free speech. We will stand up for freedom of the press. And we will stand up for each and every person who puts their life on the line, who sticks their neck out to defend those principles that we hold dear. And that's what this rally is about. That's what all the rallies around the country and indeed around the world have been about. Speaking of around the world, there's been a lot of international support, and if you've seen the news in the last couple of days, a lot of celebrity support for Julian Assange in his defence case. One of those supporters is someone a lot of us would know of here. We might have seen a couple of his films. That's Michael Moore. Michael Moore sent a message to the bail hearing of Julian Assange the other day in London. He also put up $20,000 of his own money to secure that bail, and Julian Assange was indeed released on bail just in the last couple of days. So I just want to read a short statement that was issued by Michael Moore to be read in the court as his testimony for the bail hearing. He says, "I support Julian, whom I see as a pioneer of free speech, transparent government and the digital revolution in journalism. His commitment to exposing the follies of government and business offers the greater society a chance to protect itself from these follies. Some aren't just follies, some are crimes. What do we do with someone who informs the authorities? And in this case, it is the free people in a democracy who are the authorities that a crime has been committed. Do we arrest him? Do we try to shut his mouth? Do we hound him, threaten him, track him down and hunt him as if he is the criminal? He bravely informed the citizenry of what was being done in their name and with their tax monies. That is no crime. That is an act of patriotism. He should be thanked and honoured and not abused and jailed. Julian has made the world and my country, this is Michael Law, the US, a safer place. His actions with WikiLeaks have put on notice those who would take us to war based on lies. But any future attempts to do so will be met by the fierce, bright light provided by WikiLeaks and intended to expose those who commit war crimes. His actions will make them think twice next time, and for that we all owe him a debt of gratitude. From Michael Moore.
Yes.
I'd like to introduce our next speaker now, Libby Conners. Libby today will be representing the Queensland Greens. Please give Libby a big round of applause. Thank you, Libby.
Dave, do you need to record the call? Do you need to record the call?
Thank you. And first up, of course, I want to pay my respects to the traditional owners, the Turrbal and Yagara. And I can't help but reflect with much regret. If only international relations now could be on a similar scale to the international relations of the elders of this region, who used to meet up regularly to talk through their issues and to fight through their issues, rather than the kind of threats that face us today with nuclear annihilation still hanging over our heads in the event that different tribal nations can't agree. The other point I want to make first up is that the Australian Greens have been using what influence they have with the federal government to insist on Julian Assange's civil rights as an Australian citizen. And Bob Brown in particular immediately came out and opposed all talk of withdrawing his passport and other silly, aggressive things that were coming from our Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, who of course sought to blacken his name. And it took Bob Brown to stand up and point out that he had the same rights as the rest of us and that his rights should be respected. It certainly was a very brave thing that Julian has done, and I also wanted to pay tribute to the intelligence officer, the American military intelligence officer who provided the cable. They've both been incredibly brave individuals. And of course they have walked in the steps of another famous US foreign policy leak from way back in 1971, when Daniel Ellsberg was working for the US Defense Department and released reams and reams of papers that divulged the fact that the US had knowingly been acting illegally in the war against Vietnam and in much of the activities that had taken place in Vietnam and in Indochina in the 1960s. And they of course became quite famous. They became known as the Pentagon Papers once they were published. And of course, we've continued to try and fight these issues internationally ever since. And who of us could forget the fantastic rally that we had back before the invasion of Iraq, when all of us who knew this was a stupid thing to do, knew it was an immoral thing to do, knew that it was going to lead to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocent people, including children in Iraq and other many non-combatants. And we all turned out, and we did it in solidarity with 10 million other people around the globe, to say this is crazy stuff. And that's because those of us in the international peace movement were aware, courtesy of events like the Pentagon Papers, that governments do lie to us. And that's why the WikiLeaks issue has been so important. It's about the fact that governments want to massage the news for us. They only want to release what they want us to know. But how could any of us now rely on that after the lies that were told about weapons of mass destruction justifying that invasion of Iraq? We know they like to lie, we know they like to massage the news, and it's so important now to be... I mean, I have to admit, so often, as I wake up each morning and there's a new revelation, I say, well, that's not news, We know that all sorts of governments around the globe do talk to their citizens. What's important, though, is that we can now, when we do protest, when we do raise our voices with our national government, we can say it with more confidence. We know that our government knows these things. So it's all about their desire to manage the news and to release information to us selectively, and that's why it's so important that you all have turned out to show your support for Julian, to show your support for WikiLeaks in the lead up to Christmas. And it was good to hear Ewan say there's going to be another rally on the 15th of January, because how often governments like to sneak things through during the Christmas New Year period when it's so hard for all of us to come together and object. But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing